there's a lot of innovation going on in biosynthesis, where the cutting edge of making any molecule, pharmaceuticals, flavors, any kind of targeted molecule, is the old way of doing it is petrochemical, where petroleum products are very dynamic because you have these long carbon chains. You can make into anything. You can make into all sorts of plastics, pharmaceuticals. Like there's a reason that we use fossil fuels. Like they're very flexible and robust, but they're also fossil fuels. They're limited. The production on it can be dirty, and it's clearly not like the way that things will be made in 100 years from now or 200 years from now. What we're seeing and what we are doing, and one of the big innovations that we had was switching our supply chain to a more biosynthetic way, where state of the art of making target molecules instead of using petroleum basis is you make genetically modified yeast. So you like specifically change the genetics of that bacteria. It can be yeast, it can be E. coli, it can be like specific types of bacteria. You genetically modify it such that when you feed it something normal, like a feedstock, like you feed it sugar, that because of how it has been modified, it produces as a byproduct the target molecule. So this has its own cost curve to it, where like, when first doing this, it's super expensive. Like, first time people mapped out the human genome, it was extremely expensive. And now you have 23andMe. Like the first instances of doing bacteria generated pharmaceuticals and other molecules, super expensive, but it's coming down to a spot where it is on par or even lower than the petrochemical way of doing it. So that's been a big innovation that we've made. We've also made innovations on the ketone itself, where I'm trying to think the best analogy here, but in a way, our first version was really complicated, where we had a couple of different similar ketones that were esterified together. It was very complicated, but it was very I think people familiar with product design or engineering in general have this sense of like sometimes your first concept is like too complicated, and then you like shave it off. It's like Tinder was like simpler than Match.com, Uber simpler than calling a taxi cab. We had that same dynamic where our first version was this like really complicated thing. We almost did it because we could. It was really like scientifically crazy and interesting. And then the insight was like, hey, this can be much simpler and work as good or better and be dramatically cheaper. It sounds so obvious when I say it. That's why I'm kind of thinking hard about it. It's like, so yeah, so it seems so obvious. Yeah, do the simpler thing. But I'll just say, like, for our version 1, we had something that was more complicated that felt correct at the time.
Yeah.
But then
yeah.
as it was on market and as we learned more and just wisened up, sometimes like the smarter thing is to go in a simpler direction. And that's a big part of what led to V2. So yeah, updates in manufacturing technology, shifting away from petrochemical towards biosynthesis, and then simplifying on the formula itself. And then just like, yeah, good old fashioned product development work, formulation work, figuring out how to make it taste well. We did one of the subtasks of our work with the DoD is around organoleptics, which is fancy word for saying how your body senses things that you're eating. So how does like at the molecular level, not just like sipping it and swirling around in your mouth, but at the molecular level, what is happening? Like what is making this taste the way that it tastes? And then what can we do to address that? What can we do on the formulation to make it taste more palatable? So a lot of deep science around how to make it taste better. The very early versions of ketones were crazy tasting. What can we do to make it taste better? So a lot of blocking and tackling, a lot of biochemistry, a lot of formulation development that has yielded, I think, really good results.